Hello everyone, and welcome back to another GIS Mathematics lecture video. And in this video, I want to begin our discussion about angles. Now, hopefully everybody at least has some idea of what an angle is. But the reason that we're going to talk about them, especially in so much detail, is because angles play a vital role in remote sensing in GIS. Right down to the way that we deal with light interacting with objects in remote sensing, all the way through to projections, which control the way that we view geospatial data, all the way through GPS, which is one of the primary methods of actually gathering geospatial data, right? All of those different aspects of GIS and remote sensing, at their core, rely on angles. And specifically understanding angles and then taking those and doing what is called trigonometry, which is going to be the focus of this section, which is basically the math of angles. And so again, hopefully everybody knows what an angle is, but I want to spend this video just getting everybody on the same page in terms of terminology that you're going to see both in the course, but also in the broader GIS context. And so what I want to do is I want to draw your attention to this angle right here. Let me do this, to this angle right here. Right. And in specific, what I want to do is I want to talk about three different ways that we can, or three different ways that we can reference this angle. The first one is going to involve labeling the points. So we have point A here, which is this point 0, 0. We have this point here, which we're going to call B, the point 4, 0. And then up here we have the point C, which is 4, 4. All right. And so what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about three ways, right? Three ways to identify a target angle. The first way is to call it out by the points that are around it. So in this case, we could have CAB or BAC, right? So going from C to A to B is the same as going from B to A to C. And we put a little angle above it like this, or you'll see sometimes before this, angle CAB. Right? These three things are equivalent. And this is just a way of designating, hey, we're looking at the angle that is designated by CAB. So this is one way that you'll see it. Another way you'll see it is with a variable name. And I'm going to go through two because these are the two that you most often see used in both math and in GIS. And I'm going to go through two because especially with GIS and remote sensing, you'll often be dealing with more than one variable angle at a time. And so we will typically see two, sometimes even three angles being discussed. So I want to go through the two most common. The first one that you're going to see practically all the time is something that looks like a 0 with a slash through it. Let me see if I can draw that a little bit better. Something like that. All right, this is called theta. Let me improve my handwriting here a little bit, right? This is called theta. And you're going to see theta over and over and over and over again in textbooks and in GIS applications. The second one you'll sometimes see is it almost looks like a Y with a little cross, almost like a trident, right? This is called phi. So typically what you'll do, especially in GIS applications, when you have latitude and longitude, which we're going to talk about later, which are in fact just angles, right? You'll typically see one referred to as theta and the other referred to as phi. So knowing both of these is kind of important. Right, so these are the three ways you can identify an angle. You can either identify it by its three constituent points, or you can see it identified using a variable such as theta or phi. So now I want to talk about what an angle actually is, right? What is an angle? Well, an angle is basically the shape created when two lines raise scroll down a little bit so we have a little more room here, right? It's actually, let me erase that and start over because that is really bad handwriting. Right. An angle is the shape created when two lines, rays, or line segments intersect. I'm going to be redundant here, and I'm going to say intersect at, not at a common point. And again, I'm being a little bit redundant here because intersect does usually means a common point, but just to spell it out, right? An angle is the shape that is created when two lines, rays, or line segments intersect at a common point. So let's go up here and just look at this, right? So this right here, right? We have the line segment AC, and we have the line segment AB, and they intersect at the common point A. So this shape created by line segment AC and line segment AB, right, this shape right here, right, this is the angle. And we can refer to that as CAB, BAC, theta, or phi, right? We're all talking about the same thing. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about three sort of key terms that we're going to see often when we talk about angles. The first is the vertex. I'm going to use some different colors here. Green. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the vertex. I'm going to slide down just a little bit so we have a little bit more room to work with here. The first thing we're going to talk about is the vertex. And the vertex is the point of intersection of the two lines, rays, or line segments. Right, this is the point where we start to create the angle. This is also called the endpoint of the angle, right? So A in this case, right, this is our vertex of the angle. A second piece of terminology is what we call the initial side. So the initial side is basically just the side of or the line segment that is fixed. Now, I know that this doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, but the idea is that we're going to pick one line segment and we're going to have that be our starting line segment, right? So this is another way of saying our starting line segment. Right, because when we go to measure an angle, right, you have to start somewhere, and that place you decide to start is called the initial side. Typically, that's the side that runs along the x-axis. It doesn't have to be, but typically, right, this is going to be our initial side. The third piece is what is called the terminal side. Right, the terminal side. And the terminal side this is the line segment And again, this could be line or ray. I'm just using line segments because in GIS we deal with line segments. That is rotated. And again, right, this has to do with how we measure the angle, right? We start here and then we rotate to here. So this would be, in other words, this is the ending line segment. So again, right, vertex is the point where they meet. We pick one side to be the initial side, and then we rotate to the terminal side to get the measure of the angle. Right. And so basically what we say is the measure, right, the measure of the angle is the rotation between, let me give myself a little more space here, is the rotation between the initial side and the terminal side. Okay, so I know there was a lot of information here. Hopefully it all made sense. A lot of this was just definitions. We're going to talk more about what this measure actually is, or not what it is, what it looks like, because we've defined it, right? It's the rotation between the initial side and the terminal side. We'll talk about how we measure this rotation specifically. And we'll talk more about some of the other definitions. But again, this is just sort of the bare minimum definitions that you're going to need to be able to go forward in this section. So hopefully this makes sense. If you have any questions, please go back, watch the parts you're confused about. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.